Okay. All right, we're here today with Kasper Woolley. Kasper, I'm a big fan of yours on the enduro circuit, having done an enduro race myself. Enduro being a mountain bike race, there's going to be a lot of people seeing this who don't know much about the mountain bike scene and the racing scene. Enduro racing is a race format where you're only timed on the downhills. So you basically have to be a very fast mountain biker on the downhills, which I've seen you race and I've seen you out there, and I know that you are. So Kasper, welcome. Great to have you with us today. Now your history is not just in mountain bike racing, and in that regards, you are one of the top in the world right now, but also a ski racer in the past too. So you've always had that athletic ambition. But one thing we're talking about today is injuries and recovering from injuries and how you manage injuries. And I'm really excited to talk to you today specifically about it because you have a really interesting background and an interesting kind of history around that and a story to tell, which leads you to being a bit more prone to injuries. So can I start off with that and tell us a bit about that and your story there?
Yeah. So I guess I got diagnosed with the brain tumor. It's a pituitary tumor. So it's not like really dangerous or super like harmful or anything, but as far as from like an athletic standpoint, it's like made a pretty big um sort of, I guess, issue that I've had to sort of face and like kind of overcome. I'm sort of still trying to get past it, I guess. Or I mean, it's always going to be a part of me, but trying to make it not, I guess, not really like holding me back. But the main thing is it kind of causes a low bone density sort of condition. So from an injury standpoint, being in a somewhat of an extreme sport, it's not ideal because you can't really avoid hitting the ground. So
Mm-hmm.
when you do, you kind of end up like this a little more often for me, unfortunately. But
Yeah, there
yeah,
you go. Another injury that is part of it. Can you talk us through the injury that you have at the moment there?
yeah, so I've been beginning of December. I had a it was like kind of a it's like a pretty big crash, but I kind of like rolled out of it like pretty good. Like I thought it didn't feel like I hit the ground too hard, but I think I just caught my ankle on like a root or something because I ended up like tearing my ankle basically, and it felt like I tore my calf when I first was trying to get up, and I ended up like injuring the ligaments in my knee a bit, and it like pulled a piece of bone off my like tibia, like it just cracked it a bit. Um, so that's been a long that's been a really frustrating one because it's been like at first it was like, oh, it'll only take maybe a week or two, and then now I'm 4 to 5 months into it, and we're still not really past it, but I am seeing the light at the end of the tunnel on that one. But basically I got back to riding, and then I was riding for a few weeks. So I guess end of February, beginning of March, and but I just wasn't able to really kind of put all my weight into that right leg. And I just came around like a pretty fast corner and lost the front end, and then just timed like the uphill like just perfectly, which is kind of the worst way to crash. So I just pretty much like 30K an hour to just like dead stop and just punch the ground super hard with my left arm, and it didn't at first, like I thought I injured my shoulder because it jammed my shoulder back super hard, but yeah, then it kind of just sort of went all to my like hand after a few minutes of
Yeah.
myself over.
Ouch. So this is not, obviously you're used to injuries by the sounds of it. You've had a few in your career, and obviously with the bone density issue, that's something that you've always been, has kind of played you a little bit on that. And I'm always impressed by you. You're still the top of your game, being, one of the top enduro racers in the world right now. And before that, being a ski racer, it's fantastic. So I'm impressed by that, but also your attitude and knowing you and seeing you go through these injuries. And every time I see you, still got a smile on your face, and and a great attitude towards it all, which is awesome. So I wanted to get you on here and talk about how you manage these injuries from a physical perspective, and how you actually recover, and what process you have there, but also psychologically, how do you keep that momentum going on this. So I want to start on that and on the management side of things. So first of all, do you have a process of managing these injuries when you've literally just crashed, you've just lost the front end, and you put your hand out, that kind of thing, and you're like, I know I've done something. What do you do then? What's that process for you?
Yeah, I guess like the main thing is it's different every time. Like sometimes you're like, wow, like I think I've like done something's not right, and then you give it a few minutes, and you kind of just, it's sort of just like a surface injury, and like you're totally fine. And then other times it's like, no, this is this is not good. Like it just like builds. That usually at this point, like I've had so many, like this is, maybe I think like I've pretty much broken one bone a year since I was like 10 or 11. Even, but then like, it started before then, but like I think it's only 2014 and 15 so far that I've been, haven't broken something. So by now I'm usually just really pissed off.
Yeah.
Just like super frustrated. And kind of just try not to think about it too much. Oh,
Do
sorry.
you what
Interrupted by my mom here a bit. Mama, kan du vara tyst snälla? Um, Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, so after it happens, and you're like, yeah, the frustration of it kind of thing, it's an injury. Do you straight away kind of get out there and get off it, and get to a point where you can rest and recover, or do you have therapists that you start calling up straight away? It's like, this has happened, I need to see you, kind of thing. Do you have that group of people around you? Tell me more about that side of things.
Uh, yeah, that's honestly something I've been with this injury in particular. Like a lot of my injuries so far, which is luckily have been pretty minor. So like, there's no I haven't had really. I've had one like small surgery on my elbow when I was like 7. So for the most part, it's like get it cast or something and just let it heal. But this particular one that we've talked about, the scaphoid, it's like everything that I'd heard, I was like, I need to get it pinned. Like that's the way to go. And me being in the sport I'm in now, enduro, there really isn't good support like at all for as far as from a kind of medical
Mm-hmm.
standpoint to get you kind of fast track to get scans and see the right people and like kind of get a plan in place on what is the best way to move forward. So I was basically just calling everybody and kind of frantically trying to push my way through. And yeah, I basically saw the surgeon a week later, and then she kind of decided that it was best to not do a surgery on it, just the way
Mm-hmm.
I'd broken it. So then it was kind of like it wasn't a huge deal. Like I'd already well on my way. I just got a new cast that was put in a slightly better position, and then just gotta let it let it do its
Yeah,
thing.
give it that time, right? So um in terms of that, it sounds, so in terms of therapists and things like that, it sounds like it's the usual route kind of thing. There's nothing special you can do in that respect. It is that patience, and go down that standard medical route. But obviously there's another side of injuries, which is psychological. And for me, this is a big part of it. I've been injured a number of times. I'm getting older now, and through playing sport all my life, I have these injuries and things that at the time I didn't think were a big deal and then become a big deal kind of thing. And so dealing with those injuries and having them, I know that there is that psychological setback. It's straight away it happens. You're right, there's that frustration. But for me, it's that frustration of, I'm now sidelined. I can't play in my sport. And I can't imagine what that is for someone who is at the top of their game and pushing to be the best in the world kind of thing. So tell me about that. How do you deal with the psychological side of it there and that setback?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's been pretty tough, especially like it really stings when you're like leading up to a race and which has happened a few times and it's like, okay, now I'm now I'm not going to that race. Like doesn't really, some people are like, oh, you just grit it out. It's like, no, like you're not, that's not really an option. It is sometimes, but not always. And then other times, like in my case now, with the last couple, it's like, well, I'm not gonna miss any events, or I'm quite optimistic that that's the way it looks. But obviously, I need to somehow keep like moving forward and progressing. Like it'd be easy to just kind of like sit around and wait for it to heal, and then kind of basically just have this 2 month gap that you don't really get anything done as far as from a training standpoint. So yes, just looking at areas that I can improve and yeah, sort of just kind of get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely know like I was really, for me this time, like it could have been really easy to just get really down. Like I was kind of coming like I wasn't even fully recovered from my
Mm-hmm.
first injury. Like I've been sort of trying to get through that. Um, and then to just break this wrist, like, it really sucked as, um, but I really tried to, like, I was just starting to kind of get going and I felt like I really wanted to not like go the other direction. So I was sort of like, okay, well, I can do all these things and kind of just I'm just going to focus all on that. And like, I guess I can kind of get in like a headspace where like you're saying like, the weather's nice and like, oh, like people are riding. And obviously I see, on my phone, like people are riding stuff, but I can almost like distance myself from that. Like I watch and I see cool stuff and whatnot, but it's like in my head, like I can't do that. So I don't really worry about it. Like I'm just worried about what I can do and like what I can focus on. So I kind of find my own challenges and things I can try and see what I can sort of do, which I've sort of made my own race for myself lately.
Tell me more about that. I want to, because I've talked to you about it and you told me about it, but tell everyone listening, because I think this to me is the epitome of someone who has a very competitive nature and needs that and get me to that. But tell us about how your coping mechanism around your
Yeah.
injury currently.
Well, basically, there's the chief, um, like rock slash mountain we have here in Squamish, which is pretty famous. And like the main peak, just like the first one, there's like a pretty like competitive Strava segment that like a lot of really like fast kind of mountaineer runner kind of schemo guys have like given a pretty good effort on. So yeah, it's like pretty steep, like it's like 600 meters and like just over 2K. Um, and so I've like done it like in the like I live really close, so like obviously I hike it all the time, but never really like kind of put any like effort to go like, oh, I want to like go this fast. Like I did it a few times when I was a bit younger, like pretty fast, but not like really on Strava. So then I kind of just made it a goal. Like I was like, okay, well, I didn't really like put a time on it. Like obviously I'd like to actually get the like first place, the like com, but I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure if that's quite achievable with unless I just drop everything and only train for that, which I'm only doing it like once or twice a week. So I'm not really, I've got a lot of other things that I'm doing as well. Um, but yeah, I'd like to see if I can kind of get in there, like maybe a top 5 or top 6. Like each week I like knock my time down a bit. Like I started at like 24 and a half minutes, then knocked a minute off and a minute off. And then on Monday I did like a 21:40. So I need to knock like another 4 or 5 minutes off, which is pretty tough because like
Wow.
I'm going at like 180 to 185 heart rate like that whole time. So and the calves are just it's probably the most aggressive calf burn like you could ever do. Like I don't know how you would manage to find like anything like that. Like the stairs are just like almost like I think I'd be quite a bit faster without my cast because you kind of like almost need to use like your hands as well a lot in a lot of places, but that's the way it
Yeah.
is. So
Well, I'm
I'm
sure you got the
dealing.
record getting up there with the cast on. I think that that
Yeah,
added weight. There you go.
yeah,
We'll call it that. So you get your like this release, this competitive release out by having these additional challenges that you set yourself when you're injured, which is awesome. Let's talk about your conditioning, because obviously you're in doing that, you're also staying conditioned. Is that something that you actively do? You're like, I need to. It needs to be something that is physically active because I need my conditioning. Or do you have a way where it's like, I'm injured, but I do have a way of training and keeping my conditioning up for racing?
um yeah, so like I'm like got a training program still like doing that's just sort of more custom to what I can do right now. So I'm still like managing to do like 2 sessions a day, like 5 days a week. Um, but that's just I've just kind of built that in. So like I'm not riding my mountain bike, so I'm doing that instead. So like I've been just doing a lot more hiking as kind of base builder, and then I've sort of thrown that in as just something kind of I wouldn't say it's that much fun, but it keeps it interesting. Um, so yeah, I guess that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, exactly. It's just you see that. So just to paraphrase it, your momentum stays there. You still go. It's like I'm just replacing my training that would be out in the on the trails to being in the gym and just spending more time in there, kind of doing what you can, kind of thing. And that awesome. So
Yeah.
now a big side of that is obviously nutrition as well, and that's you are a top level athlete, and that's a part of, and I know that's a part of your game, hence why why I know you through you using Blonyx products there. But I want to hear more about that. Now I know that a conversation that you and I have had is about the use of our products, and especially HMB, when it does come to it being injured, and making sure that you're taking it regularly to maintain the muscle mass and not losing that through inactivity, especially when your wrist is in a cast, kind of thing. Can you tell me more about that and what your approach is to nutrition in general, and then when you're injured, if it changes at all, or do you have that real focus on it? What do you do?
Yeah, I think when I'm injured, I've definitely tried to be more aware of like just trying to take any kind of supplements or some sort of specific stuff that can like help. Like for example, I have a like I think it's called a bone builder vitamin. So I've been trying to be like super consistent on that. Um, and yeah, I've been trying to be really consistent on the HMB like creatine one. I've been taking the beta alanine a bit more, but man, that stuff makes me feel weird. just the
Yeah,
like just that you get
the
through there.
paresthesia, the tingling. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten past the where it's like extreme. Like I haven't taken it enough yet, so like gonna work on that. But
You
um,
probably can save it into race time when you're actually on the bike. Oh, actually, no, it will help you
yeah,
for your chief climbs
yeah,
actually right now.
exactly. So
Yeah,
I'll
totally.
get something
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah. In fact, what am I talking about? That will get you that 4 minutes. That's what you need. That's exactly what you need. It's right there, and it's in a can right there. Let's get it. Cool. So anything else on nutrition? Like, what about, do you kind of focus more, so supplements aside, do you go like, I need to eat more vegetables, I need to, do all that, or do you just like, I just need to keep my nutrition going, keep eating?
Yeah, just keep eating. I definitely have like thought about like, I'd say in general like eat fairly healthy, but at the same time like I'm really small, like I'm fairly light. Like I'm not not packing on the pounds yet. Like I'm like I weighed myself this morning. I'm like just under 145. So I do tend to like eat a lot of just anything kind of thing too,
Mm-hmm.
like a bit. I kind of have that as far as just like just gotta like keep eating, but then which sometimes is hard to eat really like healthy. Like I guess I set the bar pretty high as far as what's healthy.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, definitely trying to like um, there's nothing but good things as far as eating like healthy foods and how that
Mm-hmm.
can kind of keep your energies up. So it's definitely like a focus of mine. I definitely find there's only so much energy you can put into like everything, and making like I can't really cook right now, so I'm
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mom's sort of helping me out. But um yeah, that's one side of things that I'd like to actually improve on and be like more consistent on, as far as
Mm-hmm.
like this is like exactly what I'm eating, and like this is what I need to eat, and like that's gonna translate into performance kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm definitely like a little bit, I'd say, random. Like I don't know what I'm gonna eat tomorrow. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know what I'm gonna eat for breakfast, but that's about it. Avocado toast and eggs. But
Hey, that's good
um,
enough. That's the main thing. Getting eggs
yeah,
in there, avocado, that's well balanced for breakfast, as far as I'm concerned, is the
yeah,
start of it. You can't go wrong after that. Fantastic. Let's move forward and let's go on to injury avoidance, because obviously no one wants an injury, and especially with you with big ambitions when it comes to your athletic career. So I know that you train a lot, and talking before, you train more than most athletes, I think, on the enduro circuit out there. But tell me more about that, and in specific, what is it you do to avoid injury? What training do you do? What type of movement do you do? And I want to kind of finish with, if there's any tips or anything you can do for people to avoid injuries in the first place. What would you suggest? What has really worked for you in that respect?
um, yeah. It's. I mean, I'd like to know that answer too, because so far, I'm not killing it on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, I get a lot of practice, so that's good. um, I think one of the biggest things is just sort of mentally kind of like sometimes like for me with my wrist, like lately I've been finding like I almost like forget that I have a broken wrist. Like I'm just like I'm not really like worried about like, oh, my wrist is broken, like I can't like train, or I can't like do this. Like I'm just focused on what I like can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sometimes I'm like like, oh, I should be doing this, and I should be doing this, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I'm like, oh, like okay, like I actually have a broken wrist, like kind of like can chill out a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
um I think like not getting back too quick is probably like a really like basic one, but it's so easy to just like, they're gonna take my cast off like May 3rd, hopefully. And then I see people like my friends that I'm competing with, all like, the cast comes off and they're riding, fast, like gnarly trails like the next week. And you're kind of like almost just asking to kind of have another issue. So I think just kind of that slow sort of build, like a big thing for me has been just not like really rushing things, like just kind of like almost like ticking off those weeks of training, and kind of just like um being able to have that sort of looking into, months out that I'm going to be where I want to be, but like I don't need to be there like next week. Like I think that's been a big thing.
I think that's a really key one for me. I've come back too early from injuries and gone straight back to being fully injured, and even way worse from going back too early. I think that's a great tip on that one there, definitely. How about in terms of strength training? Because I know that's something you focus on quite a bit. Do you feel that strength training you're doing? It's Keith, isn't it? Here in town, like the work you're doing with Keith, do you feel that that's partially, obviously it's getting fitter, getting stronger, and putting on that muscle, but is it also, would you say injury, avoiding injury too, is that a big part of that?
Yeah, I'd say it's a huge part of it. Not that I'm making huge progress in there as far as the like I think a mobility, like there's kind of two, as far as like from what how I see it is like there's kind of two big ones as like mobility, and then having like um as a mountain biker, like a lot of times if you crash properly, your shoulders end up taking the hit because you sort of like put your arms out and then you try and roll, but you maybe don't roll that well, so then your shoulders take the blow. So if you can have a bit of muscle on your shoulders, you're gonna you're gonna kind of be able to take a much bigger hit than I can, because I don't have quite as much muscle on me. So things are things are breaking, unfortunately. But
Hmm.
that's kind of the goal. Like I trying to put more muscle on in the gym to be able to kind of be more durable, like hitting the ground and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, it's really like for me, it's a weakness thing. Like I'm more my strength is like the endurance side of things, and the aerobic like system, and I can go for hours. Like I'm not worried about training that whatsoever. So I'm not the gym isn't where my strength is, so I'm trying to work on my weaknesses really
Hmm.
when it comes down to.
Yeah, good. I think this is the only sport where I know the athletes are bulking up simply to fall better and be able to bounce back from that. That's it's not often you get that in sport. Well, Casper, this has been
Yeah.
fantastic. I've learned a lot from talking with you here, and obviously, you are carrying another injury, which is a bit of a setback. But I think the positive to take out of that is that it's a time where the world is in a bit of setback right now with COVID. So I'm looking forward to seeing you getting back on the bike and getting out there for what will probably be 21, 22, EWS season where things are back and open. And I'm, kind of looking forward to you being injury free for that and seeing you out there. So thanks a lot for talking to us today, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go. Let me just
Cool.
stop recording.